Hey guys, welcome back. It's Real Talk with Real Producers.
Terrible.
I'm Mike Hall, and this is Jay Hancock. And today we're going to talk about something that I think it's overlooked a little bit because we end up talking about, you should be buying a house so you don't want to throw your rent away, right? So what we're actually talking about is that you want to make your home, since you're going to be paying the money and investment over time, right? But we just talk about that as a vague idea. We buy the house and then we just kind of let it rip, and we don't really pay attention to it. So what we're going to break down today is kind of a step-by-step from beginning to end. How do you treat and add your personal home that you're living in to your portfolio in a significant way, and in a way that's going to serve you today and tomorrow, right?
How do you do it? Well, I think the obvious one is you make a really good purchase, right? You focus on, and we've talked about this in past episodes where, if there's a house with no offers and a house with 4 offers, you invest in the one that other people also want, because it's going to be something that you can sell in the future, right?
Right.
And there's there's the other side of that coin where if you're buying it with the sole intent of spending money on the updates that are necessary, then you can go ahead and pursue that one that maybe has been on the market for some time, get a better price on it, and make your move that way, right?
So step one, make sure that you're financially set up for the purchase that you're about to make, right?
Yeah.
So either you're ready to jump into multiple offers and win it and be financially solid and secure in that,
Yeah.
or if we're going to add a home that we're going to live into the kind of the fixer-upper category, make sure that we're well budgeted for that type of purchase, right? So we're not just looking at the down payment, we're not just looking at the closing costs, we're looking at, hey, let's have a discussion about what is this going to cost us over time, and being financially backed and ready to do that. And not just a hope and a prayer that a hailstorm hits and you get a new roof and siding, right?
Right.
Let's be financially prepared to make those changes.
Yeah.
Okay? The second piece I think that's important with this, and this is one that kind of falls in the line that you talked about, right? Either win in multiple offers or be prepared to fix it up. Don't buy an ugly house unless you have the means and ability to make it not ugly anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We all start our home search looking at photos, right?
Yeah.
And what are we attracted to? We're attracted to the good-looking home. So those are the
They're
ones
attracted to me. I mean, let's be honest.
just magnets.
Look at this face.
Yes. So, good-looking home, good-looking agent.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
But that's real, right?
Yeah.
And not all homes can go from ugly to good-looking.
Well, structurally, yes, you're right on that. I mean, if you have a roof line or a dimension of your house or the way it's positioned on the lot where it's just going to be ugly.
What if it has a gas station next door?
Right. I mean,
It's inherently going to be ugly because of the stuff surrounding it.
Exactly.
Right.
Or if it's got a roof pitch that's going to require more than cosmetic facelift,
Right.
you got to rip the roof off to make it look nice. I mean,
Yeah, and you better get a deal. So if we're going to buy an ugly house,
yeah.
you better get a deal in consideration of being able to make that correction in the future, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the purchase. We're financially sound. We're paying attention to the physical aspects of the home. Buy a good-looking home, right?
Yeah.
And then the third thing, we're talking about the marketing conditions around the house that are there currently and that will likely be there in the future, right? Mm-hmm. So location, it's super important that you pick a home that's either in a robust spot, supported by a lot of good local business, that's been managed well by local counties and local cities that are going to continue to, appreciate over time, right? And the good thing about appreciation about this is that pricing goes up, and that inherently gets other good people to come into your community, and that in turn translates to good school districts and good amenities, and then it's just this fire that burns,
Right.
in this community.
Yeah, and the other thing that you look at, I think, as an agent when I'm looking with people is, what decisions has the city been making in the last 12, 24 months that are about expansion and development?
Yep.
Because, you look at one city, let's use our hyper-local market, you look at Waconia. Mm-hmm. They have made some aggressive moves in the last 2 years with expansion and growth and getting business and new development into the city, right? You look at the next town over, Victoria.
Yep.
They've made some strides, but they're not aggressively moving towards expansion and development in the commercial district and the residential district. They are, but they're not surrounded by things that can sustain long-term growth.
In fact, we watched the city.
Yeah.
If we're going to specifically talk about Victoria, which I think is a wonderful spot, right? But when we're talking about appreciation and good stuff, we watched the city. We drove by a picket line that was supported by the powers within,
Yeah.
destroy a local grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, and the reasons, this, that, or the other thing, but like, wow, like business is going to be your supporting feature, and want to be careful when we're purchasing and buying into communities like that, right?
And it's a good community to live. Nothing wrong with that town. Not at all.
But if we're looking at the differences between the two, right?
Right.
We're watching Waconia strive,
Yeah.
support local business, and do that. And then we also, at the same time, kind of watched Victoria literally crush one of their biggest businesses, biggest employers, biggest amenities in it.
Right.
In there, and we watched both these things happen. Now Victoria, you know, they're regrowing. And
They'll recover
They
from it.
filled that space again.
Right.
But I think it's noteworthy. You
Yeah.
know, that's something that we did see happen.
Well, we also saw appreciation in one town go significantly higher over that same strip of time
Yep.
than we saw the other one.
And guess where we saw higher taxes?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know, exactly right. Okay, so location, how the city's been. It's really important
Yeah.
things to look into. That's that next step. And it's not hard to find anymore, right? We're on the internet,
Yeah.
Facebook pages, community pages. Like, you don't have to necessarily, I mean, I think it's always a good thing to go to these local township meetings and, you know, city meetings, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think you even have to go that far anymore, which is
No.
pretty cool.
Okay. So that's making a good purchase in a nutshell.
Yep.
The next piece of it, I think, is that once you've made the purchase and you know you're in a safe spot, what does maintenance and care of your home look like? I think the overarching term that we always tell people is like, you need to take care of your home. What do we mean by that?
Well, we've seen it. We've had an intimate view into what that looks like, right? So you
Yeah.
step into a house that's been 30 years in the living, right? That
Yeah.
they've been there and maintained it. And it's so counterintuitive, but general maintenance over time can be one of the first indicators of a home. And it's a difference in homes, right? So if you maintain your home and you've taken care of it over time and you have a nice looking lawn, you're going to have a significantly larger percentage of equity in it.
Yeah.
Period. And we're talking about simple things that are devastatingly difficult to do if you haven't done them over time. We're talking about mowing your yard.
Yeah.
We're talking about taking care of your planter beds, right?
Yeah.
So when the mulch runs out, you refill it,
Right.
right? You hit it with Roundup if you're into it. Otherwise, you're pulling your weeds out,
You get rid of the cobwebs
right?
on the exterior.
Right. Your deck, you go and you knock the cobwebs off. So
Yeah.
otherwise, that promotes all sorts of different stuff to stick up against your house, and it ruins it over
You
time.
wash your windows.
right?
Simple things,
You wash
right?
your windows. Because the things like they're dirty windows, big deal, but that dirt and that cobweb and that stuff and that grime up against your house,
Builds up over time.
long-term devastating effects. Same thing, you know what, let's continue on the maintenance here, and let's talk about, you know, the other upkeep that isn't as necessarily as easy, but how about painting your house? How about taking care of your trim, right? Paint looks good, but it's not just for the way your house looks, right? When you see chipped paint, what does that do? That's exposing the inside of the product that's protecting your house from the elements. So when you take off that first shield, it just becomes a sponge to soak it up. Now we have good products like LP and the hardboard is
But all
okay
that
at
stuff
this.
wears down. I mean,
wears down.
if your paint is faded at 10-year mark, you know, you have faded paint on your LP, guess what? The elements are going to start to deteriorate
They are
even
going
that product. I mean, that's a compressed fiberboard.
No. It's good,
Yeah.
but do you want it to be 30, 40 years good, or do you want it to be 20 years good for you?
Or 15 or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So taking care of it, paint your house.
One of the biggest gifts and curses to home maintenance is HGTV. It drives me up a freaking wall because I'll walk into a house that has all the potential to be awesome. I have a listing right now, perfect example of it. They watch HGTV all day long and they brush painted every inch of the trim and their cabinetry throughout the house, and their house won't freaking sell because of it.
Yep.
Will not sell. You
Yep.
cannot do it yourself if you are not skilled.
Yep.
And I'm not saying you can't obtain the skill. Don't use your big investment as your test dummy. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Or get pieces of your trim and test it in the
Yep.
garage
Yep.
and verify if it's a quality finish or not.
Why don't we make phone calls, right? If we're not an expert at painting trim,
Yeah.
we've done furniture in the past, but furniture is very different than trim, right? We need to do a good quality job physically.
Yep.
The second piece is we need to be able to pick the correct products for this.
Right.
Right. And the can or the guy at the paint shop is not necessarily going to tell you because let's talk about decks, right? That deck cover where don't worry, get this product and you'll cover your deck and it'll take care of all of the upfront work. You don't need to sand, you don't need to do anything. Those products look like crap
Yeah.
when they've been applied. And you've been bought and sold that product specifically for that project and it turns out terribly.
Yeah.
Right, so let's ask people who know what they're doing
Yeah.
and know what they're...
An actual professional in the industry, I think,
Yep.
is the biggest thing. You know, like I'm never personally, and I'm an agent. You know, I have all the means and ability to be able to figure out how to do this stuff on my own.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it to me
Yeah.
because I will screw it up.
I'll do a worse job.
Yeah, I'm going to do a worse job. And guess what? When I go to sell, I want the top dollar that only a professional is going to get.
Yep.
Is what it is.
And I don't care who you are and how good you are at brush painting. A quality enamel job is always going to turn out better
Yeah.
than the best brush painting job. Period. Hands down. It's going to be more durable, it's going to be more physically attractive, and it's going to net you more money in the long
Yeah.
term.
Without question.
If we're going to be talking about painting, which I think is a huge part of this, right?
Yeah, and that's specifically trim, cabinetry, the inside pieces. You know, you look at like wainscoting, you know, pillars, posts, all that kind of stuff that you have throughout the house. That's what we're referring to in
Yep.
general when I'm talking about painting, and it's the things that people notice. The other thing is you got to actually like dust your house because I've seen people who do not dust. You know, their trim has dirt on it, and then they paint right over that.
Yep.
You know, that's gross.
Yeah, you need
and,
to-
and it clumps up, and it's disgusting. I've seen that in houses.
Yeah.
It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it just it grinds up your house. Like you can physically feel it when you walk into a house that's dirty.
Yeah.
You know, they never got their ducts clean.
Yeah.
They never actually went around their house with a duster. You touch the top of their cabinet.
Yeah.
And you have a handful of allergens.
Well, let's see here. This is easy.
I mean.
And let's stop right here because it's very easy. You know, you clean people out there listening. This is
Yeah.
happening in your house too, right?
Oh, yeah.
We all have blind spots.
Yeah.
We all clean our house unless we're absolutely crazy and that's all we do is clean our house, right?
Yeah.
We all have blind spots. We miss
yeah.
things. We don't move a certain couch or we don't dust over on top of something. And we're talking to the clean people too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Having professional cleaning before you do these things just so that somebody can find something that you haven't.
Right.
That works
Yeah.
and it's worthwhile.
Yeah, it's worth, because I just had a house professionally cleaned. I mean, this house, if I had to put it on the market as it was, never would have sold.
Yep.
I had it decluttered, ripped out everything in there,
Yep.
professionally cleaned for $300.
Yep.
4 offers.
Right. Look at that. It's big. So we're talking so clean your house and be mindful of your blind spots even though you're the clean person.
Yeah.
Get your mechanical serviced. And this goes back to being financially sound and ready to own a home, right? You have to be willing, and I think a lot of people don't get their stuff serviced because they're afraid of what
might be there.
What might be there.
Yeah.
It's working, it's heating my house. Doesn't sound good,
Yeah.
but good Lord, I can't afford a new furnace. One, educate yourself on how much a new furnace costs. It is not
As bad as you think it is.
$6,000. It's
not.
not $10,000.
It's $3,000 or less
Yeah.
for a high efficiency unit.
Yep.
If you
Installed.
have installed price, that's out the door.
That's if you call me and you get the people that won't completely bring you to town. And no, you do not have to buy your furnace and your AC together.
Nope.
You want to know why your AC guy that you call up tells you that? It's because it's more profitable.
Yeah.
They don't operate the same. Your furnace operates nearly year-round. Your AC operates maybe 2 or 3 months out of the year. Okay?
4.
Maybe
at our
4.
house. Yeah.
Either way, they are not aging at the same amount. They're just not getting used as much.
In this part of the country.
Yeah, in this community.
Yeah, I mean,
Talking
you
about
get
Minnesota.
yeah, you get into other warmer areas.
Yeah.
It's a little different. You're running your AC a lot more than you're running your furnace. So
Same thing. You
Yeah.
can easily flip
Vice
those two,
versa.
right? You
Yeah.
can easily flip them. They do not weather together. Your AC in Minnesota can easily live to be 40 years old when your furnace is probably going to cap out at 2025.
maybe, yeah, maybe.
Maybe
yeah,
longer.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
You know,
easy stuff.
yeah,
we just talked
that's-
about the stuff that
that's just
everybody
maintenance.
can do.
That's
Okay.
the maintenance. Except for one thing that we didn't touch on is managing your landscape outside of just mowing your yard and weeding. I think that even with your house, this was something that was super important. making the subtle updates outside that are, $1,500 here, $2,000 there, but you do it consecutively to really keep the curb appeal that sold you the house in the first place. I mean, these things wear down, right?
Yep.
Your sidewalks, your edging, your siding, that kind of stuff where it's like you got a rotted siding board, get rid of it. I put that in the landscape bucket because a lot of times that stuff gets worn down based on what you're doing with your plants and stuff like that around.
Yep.
I saw a house that was it was on some land and the whole siding exterior turned orange because they were using hard water out of their well, right? Yep. So I kind of put that lower section of your siding into your landscape bucket, and you just need to kind of think about that stuff because it's subject to the elements of your landscape.
Right. And it's important. Is it really a good idea to blast, iron-filled water all against your
No, it's a terrible
your house?
idea.
It's probably not. But that's the kind of stuff where you stop and you go, man, this is going to be a pain in the butt and it'll probably be fine for 10, 15 years. But I'm going to have to confront this.
Right.
Whether that be personally in my pocket or I'm going to take it in my sale.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be worth less because of those things.
Right. So, managing your landscape and things like that, or doing that boulder wall because it gives you that are you going to dollar for dollar get that back out? I think that's a big question a lot of people have. It's like not necessarily dollar for dollar. I can't always commit to that, in terms of like when you go to resell your house and you put $30,000 into landscaping, are you going to get that dollar for dollar out? That's really subject to the situation, right? If you're on acreage land, I mean, it's possible. In a subdivision, you are going to be capped by what you're surrounded by. So you have to be thinking about how much money you put into your landscape.
There's also a minimum landscaping that has to be done.
Correct.
And this is where my example is. Right, the home that we purchased, we bought it 2 years ago, I think. The yard was destroyed. All the edging was completely kind of left.
But it was a 250 house.
Yep.
Right.
It was 250. The siding on the garage needed to be completely repaired, and it didn't have a sidewalk. Right. So you just have this beautiful walkway up to this. It didn't have that stuff.
Right.
So yes, it did make. I think what are we into it for? 15 to 20,000 over that last 2 years. So in that circumstance, absolutely, it's a bare necessity for this home to be worth. It's probably in the 350K range
350 range now, yeah.
But without those updates, it's 3, right?
Yeah.
So it's a case by case, and I think you need to be paying attention to the bare minimum that the house in that maximum price range has to have.
Right.
Right. And if you're already there and you already have those things, then make sure that you're doing landscaping for fun and personal use and not investment
and not
use.
expecting to get the money back.
Yeah, but you're going to have to make that decision with your real estate agent, with us up front. So as you're making these changes, do we have to make them? Should we make them? And where does the diminishing return start to kind of knock off?
Right, and where I'm just doing it because I want to do it.
Right, which is fine too.
Yeah, which is fine. All right, the next thing when we talk about taking care of it is budgeting for huge repairs, right? And I say huge in terms of the average person does not have $20,000 sitting around for a roof to be replaced, right? But that's something that if you walk into it and you don't have the money, you need a financial plan to be able to have the money by the time that roof comes due. Does that make sense? Now, is a roof going to whack up and slap you in the face and surprise you need a new roof? Generally, you're going to have some knowledge that roof is worn down before it starts leaking.
But at the same time, you'd be surprised at how fast 10 years flies by when you're living life and you're just living in your house, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, I'd say that it's a big win when we go through a house and we're purchasing and say, oh, that's great. You have 10 years left on that on that roof, right? That seems like forever away. That 10 years is going to come, and that roof is going to cost you between $8,000 and $15,000.
It could even be more depending on your price point.
But what does that mean? That means over that 10 years, you've had to have put away $1,000 annually specifically for that purchase.
Right.
So you say it's not going to come out of nowhere. That's true. But that $15,000 is likely not going to come out of nowhere either if we're not paying attention to it.
Yeah, if we're not paying attention. And then we look at siding too. I mean, if you buy a house that has cedar siding, cedar siding has a life cycle, right? Now there are things you can do from a maintenance perspective to prolong the life of your siding, and I call it the board by board replacement method, right? Yeah. Every time you have a rotted board or a board that's showing signs of wearness, replace it, but that also requires paint.
Yep.
Right? So every time you go through that, maybe you wait for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 boards and you just hit them in one shot where it's not such a hit to you financially. That's one thing that you can do. And that's where I think the benefit of cedar siding actually comes in, is you can do that.
Easy to do.
Versus you look at like a house that's full vinyl, it's a little bit harder because, with sun wear and stuff like that, it fades, right?
So and it warps.
Yeah, and it can warp, weather can change it. But that's where vinyl's, I guess, weakness would be, right? You look at vinyl siding, and on paper it's a good product, and the likelihood of having to deal with it is a lot lower, but it does happen.
What kind of changes do you want to make in the future too, right? Do you want to reinvest when you do the roof? Do you want to scrape together the bare minimum and get a 3-tab roof without doing new soffits, new gutter systems, and all that, the fascia?
Yeah.
No, we want to upgrade all of that with a high quality roof so that it shows. And then we also, when we're doing our siding, if we can, we want to be putting some good quality LP on there,
right?
Because that adds to the aesthetics. We get to do some shakes. We get to make your house look good during that upgrade, right? This should be a time of upgrade. I'm getting your dollar for dollar back, but if we're just doing bare minimum.
And there are, I like LP a lot. It's a good product, but there's also nice ways to supplement to be easier on the budget too, where you do just the LP front and vinyl the back three.
We want to make those decisions based on our wants and wishes and not our have-tos.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we're putting money into this investment of yours, let's make things not about the money.
Yeah, and then
or all the way about the money.
And then moving on from big repairs, we'll look at the cosmetic updates that you need to kind of plan for. Outside of let's say you buy a fixer upper, you plan on cosmetically updating the house, that's fine, well and good. But then how about in 20 years when the cosmetic updates you made originally are now dated? Right? Because ultimately we know that when we invest in cosmetic updates, that's for what we want within our personal preference at that time. And that times will change, right? There are certain things that'll stay true, right? Certain wood types that are popular and have been for, a hit like white kitchens, right? White kitchens are all the rage right now. But guess what? White kitchens were popular in the 90s too. You know what I mean? They were popular in the 1920s. That's a painted cabinet has been around for an extremely long time. So that's something that if you make the investment into it, outside of going with a color that is very specific to your tastes, generally that's a safe investment to make where you probably won't have to do it again, outside of just updating hardware or something like that, right? But planning for needing to make those updates again later after you've made the updates up front is something I think a lot of people don't really think about in the long term.
Well, I think we get tunnel vision on what we like.
Right.
Which is, it's fine and dandy from a livability perspective, but if we're going to put your home into your financial bucket, which I think we should, right? That's generally speaking, after 20, 30 years, even after 5,
right,
it's a big chunk of most people's net worth.
Right.
Let's take care of it.
Right.
So it is about your livability and what you want to do, but at least making decisions based on how it's going to serve you in the future.
Right. And then there's that argument, I get it every time I'm in a listing appointment with somebody who's been in their house for 30 years, is they can spend the money and update it. Okay, that's fine, they can, but you have to price according to that. Right? I think that's the big hurdle people have mentally, is that I'm going to sell the house and they can do what they want to do to it. This is what I liked. Right. Keep in mind, I'm not selling the house to you. If I was selling the house to you, that'd be a valid argument. However, I'm not. I'm selling the house to somebody else, and somebody else is going to have different tastes. Well, what if I make the updates and they don't like them? Guess what? Your consumer, more often than not, has not listened to this podcast and made the financial adjustments necessary to purchase that home. Even though we can give you the information, not everybody's going to do that. And when they make that purchase, they might not have the cash. They might be just getting enough to get the down payment to get into your home, and you have to assume that. In a lot of cases. It's an unfortunate reality. So as a homeowner, a wise homeowner who's listening to me and taking notes, you have to make those preparations mentally and financially to make the updates before you sell your house if you want to achieve top dollar.
And we're talking about big swings of money, right? An unupdated house might be, and I'm just pulling numbers out of nowhere, it might be $250, and the updated house could honestly be dancing in the $325,000, $350K range.
Right.
And these changes over time, you're probably into it for 20, maybe 30K. We're talking
Right.
about doing quality paint job. We're talking about if we're going to update the kitchen, we do it in a way that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and we budget for it so that we're not just doing granite countertops and leaving everything else. Like these are big swings of money, and it's important to say that the next person will deal with it, whether that be your family who takes it over when you pass on, or the next buyer. But those people are they're gonna have a burden of making those changes, and you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Or they're going to pay for it. So if you're planning on transferring this home to your family, I've seen it a lot, right?
Yeah.
They end up getting these homes, and they end up spending 3 months of their lives trying to put the pieces together, and they end up, struggling through the sale,
Yeah. Absolutely.
right? So let's bless
So-
ourselves and our family.
And those updates specifically, what I'm talking about there is cabinetry.
Yep.
If you have a very specific cabinet type, you need to know, like, this is for me. This isn't for when I go to sell it,
Yep.
right? The flooring choices that you make,
Yep.
right? If you're not making decisions based on, am I going to need to sell this thing in the next year or 2 years? Okay, you need to be very, conscious of that.
But
You know
we
what
can
I mean?
even make good decisions within that, right?
Yeah.
So if you like a wood grain type of cabinet,
Yeah.
maybe maple's a great choice for you.
Right.
Because maple can flex to your nice wood grain. You can do a nice stain on there, but it's very, very easy to sand it and put a new white enameling on it. So
Right.
that wood can flex cost effectively for you, right? So
Yeah.
we can hit both those things at the same time. A nice, good plank oak floor. Easy to have that
Easy
dark,
to have that dark light, whatever, right?
Yep.
You
and,
just
and
sand
you can
it,
make
you
those
just finish
changes
it.
for $1,000 or $2,000, and you can update it and enjoy it yourself. right?
That's false. Refinishing the floor is expensive.
You know that.
But I get what you're
$2,000.
saying.
That's the last one we got. Doesn't matter, right?
True. Or call me, please, before you make the update
Yeah.
as a real
well,
estate
you should always
agent.
be doing that
Yeah.
because we can help you make those decisions.
Yeah.
It's not this or that. It can be both.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to
Yeah, that
hone in
makes
on
sense.
here. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your enjoyment of your home for your future resaleability,
Yeah.
but you can do both.
And the last thing I think that we really want to hit here, and we talked about this briefly at the beginning of this, is be active in your community and know when you need to make the move, right? You need to know when change is coming,
Yep.
right? All of a sudden you see school districts are down, there's been some serious changes into the quality of the community, maybe there's been some big projects for community development that are bringing values down, right? It could be a number of different things, but just being involved to the point where hey, I'm gonna probably lose value if I stay here long term,
Yep.
right? And I know I'm gonna make the move here within the next 3 years anyway.
Yep.
Maybe now is the time to make that move. I think that's the person that we're talking to in that specific instance where,
This happens a lot of times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cities swallow up different segments in different ways.
Right.
There are leading indicators that we can pay attention to, right? School district.
also people selling low in your neighborhood, paying attention to what's actually going on within the local market.
How about your neighboring market? See what's
Right.
going on with them.
Right.
Hey, we both bought this home for this, in back 10 years ago. Theirs is worth this and mine's worth this. What's going on here?
Right.
Right? Why
Yeah.
am I not here, and should I be paying attention to that? I love the home, I love my community, but it is not acting as the investment tool that it should be, so maybe I
Right.
should consider.
And if the answer is I'm not gonna move anytime soon, then you can ride that out, and that's just fine too.
It's kind of sad though.
Yeah.
And my family, I saw this directly in my family,
Yeah.
right? We sold their house 2 years ago now.
3 years almost. Yeah.
Been 3 years ago, but and everything around it, their school districts were great, and they took a tank, and they ended up. I think they bought their house in the early 90s,
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
and in 2016
17 or 16 or 17,
they sold it
whatever
for
it
the
was.
same price,
Right. That's what they were into it for.
specifically based on declining school districts.
Right. And there was a time where their house was worth more.
Yep.
Significantly more.
Yep.
And they lit a good $50,000 on fire
Yep. Because of that.
because of that.
And have you even heard of this? People don't know about this. Real estate will appreciate over time. Yeah, if you have the right conditions and you're paying attention,
Yeah.
right? Because this should have been here.
Right. Well,
So let's pay attention to those
pay
things.
attention to those things.
Yeah, and most importantly, keep us in the loop. We make it easy on our clients, right? We're always doing fun stuff. Client appreciation parties, we're calling on them, giving away stuff. We're doing that, so we're easy to have this conversation with. But that being said, as you're doing these things, call me, send me pictures, send me ideas. I'd be happy to. I'm constantly sending, professional home designers into my listings to make changes that are specific to the market today.
Right.
So I know those things. We're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest, we're on all of these spots. That's all that I'm consuming, right?
Right.
It's local real estate investment, fixing up. Like, I'm into the local trends.
Right.
So why would you look when you can just call me?
Right.
Call me. I'll tell you what to do.
Right.
What you shouldn't do. Give you different options. Help you
Or
do
I'll
that.
hire Deborah to come do it for me.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's what we're here to
Deborah's
do.
our designer, by the way.
Yeah, Deborah's our designer. My bad.
She's great.
But yeah, no, that's what we're here
So
to
keep
do.
us in the loop. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Long-term value, and those phone calls are free.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. I think that's a pretty good breakdown. So, let's just do a recap. Make a good purchase. Take care of your home. And then be active in your community and be willing to change to the ever-growing environment, especially as pertains to your investment in your real estate, your real estate market, just like you would a stock portfolio, right? Mm-hmm. If you have 100K in stocks, you're obviously watching to see what the market's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why won't you do that for your real estate purchase? And then 4, honestly, I think this is the most important. Call me. Keep us in the loop. Keep us into that. Don't just disappear at closing.
Yeah.
We're there for you.
Exactly.
When I say we're not going anywhere, I mean it.
Yep.
Cool. That's what I got. We'll see you guys next week. It is.
Real talk with real producers. Someday you'll remember that.
See you guys.
See ya.